show is designed to bring you real experts and real tools for real people like you who are ready to stop waiting and start living 365. So what's my rant for today? Put your damn phone down. That's my rant for today. I've been noticing over the past little while when I'm out and about, I attend a lot of networking events, restaurants, I'm out in the public an awful lot, and I just see so many people living their lives through their phones. And it's really prompted me to recognize how disconnected we're really becoming as a society, which is a bit of an oxymoron considering the phone is the thing that we use to connect with that's actually getting us disconnected from people that we're trying to connect with, right? I mean, think about it. It's loopy, just me saying it. So I have been talking to you about going to the NBA All-Stars game and being there, and I just thought, wow, I'm in this stadium full of people, and every other person, if not, some rows with just full of people, on their phones. And I'm thinking, you're missing this. You're missing what's going on because you're on your phone. And what is the mindset behind that? Because a lot of where this is already going to is social media. So what's driving us to get out there and really connect all this stuff that we're doing onto social media? In a lot of ways, it comes down to significance. We're very driven by significance. It's one of the 6 basic human needs of psychology. We all have a need for significance, but we post this stuff on Facebook or we put it on Twitter or Instagram, and we get likes or tweets or retweets or hearts or whatever's coming out there. And that's what's really driving us and giving us our significance in society. But I feel like a lot of us are missing what's really going on in life. So often I'll be in a restaurant and watch a couple or even a family sit at their table all with devices in their hands where nobody is actually conversing with one another or engaging one another. And I have to ask you, how do you think that actually contributes to the connection that you're having with the people that you're trying to have connections with? And I myself had been, what would I call that? I've been one of these people who have broken that rule or have participated in that act. And I can remember back to when I first started my business, actually, and I was still married at the time, and my ex-husband kind of complaining that I was constantly on my phone. It'd be one of those things where as a coach or when I was more actively involved in a lot of more spiritual healing, I would happen to wake up at night and the phone would be by the bedside and I'd pick it up. And I'd pick up the phone and I get an email because people will email you in business at any time when they need you, and I'd start reading it and I'd start getting engaged in it, and he'd say to me, like, it's the middle of the night and you're on your phone and it's just not what you do. So my solution to that, have 2 phones. So I went and got a second phone, and I thought, okay, this is my business phone and this is my personal phone. So during my business hours, I will keep this phone handy, and then during my personal hours, I will have this phone handy. And I did that nonsense for probably a year or 2 before I realized what an idiot I was being, because really, could I not have the self-discipline to not check the phone? And, I finally went back to the one phone, but I can remember going away to Bali with my cousin and leaving my business for the first time, and she actually took my phone and locked it in the safe. Because she caught me in the middle of the night under my covers, like, some young boys do get caught in the middle of the night under their covers, but kind of like that, and caught me under the covers texting back around my business because it was the first time I was leaving it. And I almost feel like the phone has really just become, responsible for great things, but so much detriment to the way that we communicate in society these days. And really taking that time away. Think of how many times you've had a misconstrued text. How many times have you put tone into something somebody said? How many times have you had a misunderstanding because of the way this goes? And I'm amazed at how many people will not answer their phone if you call them, but they'll text you back within a minute. And it's really odd to me because, as I said, I'm guilty myself. I'll sit there and you're with someone and they're talking to you and you're checking your phone and you're typing. And it's like if someone was sitting here talking to me and I'm talking to this guy while this person's talking to me, you just wouldn't do that. But somehow now we've allowed this to be socially acceptable, that you can have these conversations with other people while someone's talking to you, and we think it's not rude. They go everywhere, these phones. People are in the bathroom with the phone now, on the toilet with the phone. where do we draw the lines on these things, and where do we start to actually say, let's break it off? I actually realized and made the connection the other day that I could turn my phone off. I mean, how ridiculous is that? I've put it on silent many a time, but I was actually like, you know what? This thing friggin' turns off. I don't think I've ever done that before except to reboot it because it wasn't working and I needed to get to it. So we really come into a space, and I guess that being of the age that I am, I've had the opportunity to witness life without this technology and to have life with it. Whereas a lot of people who are growing up today never knew what it was like to be in a world where there were no cell phones and no 24-hour a day, 7 days a week contact for people. And I believe that more and more we're losing that personal connection with people because there is no need. I know in my own family alone, one of my cousins had a baby, and so many of our family members never went out to see the baby because my cousin would post pictures practically every day on Facebook. And they almost felt like, well, what's the point of going to visit because they're seeing this child anyways? They feel like they have. Of course, there's a difference. That kid's not seeing us. And so there's no connection. That child is not building a bond with us. And that is where, a lot of the stuff that we're using our phones for and connecting in that way, it is taking away from human connection. And it can be a great thing to have our phones and have social media this way, because there are many people who that might be the only contact that they have throughout the day is through an interaction on Facebook or through a tweet. But for so many of us, I feel that we're living our lives through our phones, and it's like living your life through a lens all the time. And just how connected can you get to that? How much of it are you actually embracing? How much engagement can you actually achieve when you're busy trying to capture the right shot, the right angle, the right lighting? You're missing the moment. And as I sat in that stadium at the Air Canada Centre and just looked around, it's almost humorous to just watch people. I feel like, animals must feel this way when they watch us at the zoo, where we're all sitting there like this, and it's just like, what's wrong with these stupid humans? Don't they get it? And we're not engaging with people. We're not actually connecting and appreciating, using our senses to actually experience what's going on. And it is great to capture things. It's a great way to share, but are you really capturing that moment? How many things do you have? How many photos do many of us have these days? Photo albums. I don't think very many people have photo albums anymore. I think we have these photos on our phone. Mine's full of them. And it's very rare these days even that people print pictures anymore. But when you think back to it, memories that you've had, they're stored in your mind. And when you actually are involved in an experience, when you're actually there, really feeling it and sensing it, tasting it, rather than, I see people in restaurants taking pictures of the food. And it's like that moment that you miss when that plate is placed down on the table and you're ready to reach for the phone. You're missing that aroma of that food. You're missing the sounds that it could still be bubbling or whatever it's doing when it's come to you. You're missing so much by trying to get out there and focus on the food. I mean, I see people eating and on their phones. You're so disengaged with actually nurturing your body. How can you actually really fully experience putting nourishment into your body when you're doing this? Speaking of this, there are syndromes coming out for people in their hands now because they're getting cramps and they're getting these arthritis and stuff from holding our phones. Like it's evolution at the height of what it can be from people actually having these new conditions that develop from the technology. But it's just staying connected with people. And I feel that people are losing the art of conversation. They're losing the art of communication because there's no more opportunity, or there's no more need. You can just blah out a text to anybody at any time of day that you want. And again, when it comes back to the actual timing of things, when you're sitting down having a conversation, there are no boundaries around texting. You can send a text to anybody at any given time. I try to be cognizant of people after a certain hour and think, okay, well, maybe now's not a convenient time to text. You wouldn't call somebody at that hour. You wouldn't knock on their door at that hour, but yet we would still send a text. And so many of us sleep with that damn phone beside our heads. What's the first thing, I guarantee you, what's the first thing it's got to be if I Google the stats, 70% or higher. What's the first thing people reach for in the morning? It's their phone. And that's how they start the day. And it can be really stressful because now within the first 2 to 5 minutes of waking up, you're already like, oh gosh, I've got this email coming in and this person's waiting for me and this person's text me. And you don't even have that time to be with yourself in the morning. That first couple of moments to actually just rise. When you go to bed at night, that's when things stop. That's when your mind settles. And the minute you wake up, if you start the rampage all over again and you start the cycle going all over again, it's really not that restful. It really doesn't give you a break from it. It just goes all over again. You know, the studies will show you the backlight from your cell phones at night actually activate your brain. And it doesn't allow you to get to that restful phase of sleep for at least 2 hours. So, you know, that's what they're recommending is to stay off your phones at least an hour or so before because it gets you stimulated and you're not actually able to rest and relax and recharge. So if you've got 2 hours after you go to bed and then you sleep for 4 hours and then you're up and you're back on the thing, you're really not giving yourself much of a break from it. You know, and we are so much more connected to our phones. I know people, myself included, that would be lost without their phones. How many of you know someone's people, like the top 5 people in your life? How many of you know their phone numbers by heart? Really? How many of you know their phone numbers by heart? You probably don't. How to get certain places. I go to my own parents' house sometimes and forget how to get there. And if it wasn't for that darn GPS in there, I may not get there some days because we're losing our sense of connection. We're losing, you know, the use of our memories this way and actually typing in a phone number. And I guess you could say we don't need to, we don't have to, but I've seen people lose their phones and they're screwed because they don't know how to get in touch with these people. And for people, you know, the other day I went somewhere, we're trying to find a phone number, and this young man said to me, well, what if we looked in the phone book? And this kid was about 27, so I kind of looked at him and thought, do you even know what a phone book is? Like, have you even seen one? Because do we still even make phone books anymore? I think you just try to Google the number. And, you know, with people not even having home phones anymore, how do you get in touch with someone if you've lost their contact information in your phone and you don't have it? Maybe you get on Facebook and try and connect with them. It's just really interesting to me that we're becoming so reliant upon these phones and living so much of our life through the phones. You know, I'm not obviously I use mine. I'm not a hater. The other one that I love now is this watch. The watch. Like there's text messages coming off your body part. It's crazy to me that somebody is and you're talking. I see people talking into their body parts, and I'm like, wow, is that so necessary? Is it so important that you cannot make a connection? You can't stop whatever it is that you're doing to actually talk to someone, phone them, or stop and write something down. Now it's getting to the point where, you know, we're just going to talk into our hands. And, you know, you just bust in on, anybody can bust in on you anytime they want in this capacity. So what I'm encouraging people to do is to revisit and bring into your life the art of connection, the art of communication, the art of picking up the telephone and speaking to people. I can tell you personally how much time I have lost in my life over the last 10 years by texting back and forth and waiting and trying to clarify things, where in the last 1 or 2 years I've actually just gotten in the habit of picking up the phone because it's so much easier to pick up the phone and tell somebody something. I can give you an example. I have a wonderful assistant who keeps my life in order. Thank God for her. I don't know how she does it. I'm not an easy woman to manage, I tell you. And we would text back and forth, and so many things would get confused because it's her interpretation, it's the way that I punctuate, it's the grammar that I use, it's the where she pauses when she reads it. It can totally change a sentence. And so we started getting back into communicating by phone and having conversations, and she has a notebook and I have a notebook and we use pens these things. They're like sticks with this stuff called ink in it and paper. And we write things down. And it really saves a lot of time, because the amount of time back and forth between the texting and having to wait for people, it just takes so long. Think of the last time you tried to arrange to meet someone and you're texting, and this one always gets me, is when someone sends you a text and then you write back right away and then they don't reply. Where do they go? Where do they go? They text you. It's like, again, having a conversation. Hey, Johnny, how's it going? Oh, it's going well. And you're just standing there going, okay, say something to me. Like, where do you go? Why do people do that? Start conversations and then walk away from them. Again, the art of communication and connection is completely being lost. So I am encouraging you, pick up the phone, not just to call your mom, not just to call your kid, call anyone. Pick up the phone, talk to people, stay connected. When you're out there living your life, live it with your eyes, not through the screen of your phone, with your eyes, and actually engage in your experiences and embrace them and experience them. Experience your own life in the moment. Don't worry about it. You'll remember it. You will remember it. Even if you don't have a photo of your meal, you'll remember it. You know, even if 95 of your friends don't like it, it will be just as good to you. Believe me, try it. I challenge all of you to try it. As always, remember, stop waiting, start living 365, and get off your damn phone.